Guys, welcome to another video, Purple Political Talk here, and today we're going to be talking about the 2020 538 presidential forecast. This forecast is heavily used amongst the political community because it takes into account many different things. 538's Nate Silver is well known in the political science community, and this has been a very accurate forecast in the past. So today we're going to look at the 538 forecast and look who do they have winning in this election, by what margins, and where are they expecting each party to do well. So before we get started, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. So let's get started. So they currently project that Biden is favored to win the election. He has a very strong chance of winning. So for them, being favored to win the election means that he has a slightly bigger chance of winning the election, and they ran many simulations to come to this conclusion. That's why they say that Biden is favored. So let's take a look at the data this forecast has for us to present and talk about why do they say Biden is favored to win the election. So first thing to take into account, they also give us a quick news update of things that are impacting the election. So we're seeing how the polling numbers have definitely changed over the last couple of weeks, and the race has narrowed. It's even seeing it here. And we also have one big development out of Trump campaign where he's taken out of the air circulation a lot of these different ads. He's cutting back in advertisement in some key states. And as well, they're also giving us the reminder that early voting is going to be a very important thing within the next couple of weeks, and that is truly where we're going to see a big impact on the election. So currently, they give us the presidential odds. They currently have Joe Biden with higher chances of winning at 76%, while Donald Trump only has 24% chance of winning. These are very strong chances for Joe Biden, and this almost tells us that he is statistically favored to win the election. Now, for Donald Trump, these numbers aren't horrific. However, these are not the best numbers Trump can get. And right now, most average wins for Trump have him winning in scenarios more of the closer races. While Joe Biden has a big diversification of the map, he has a lot of places to go to win. So they run 40,000 simulations. Out of those, only about 24% have Trump winning, and in very specific areas of the country. That's something very interesting to see. A 76% chance, very strong for former Vice President Biden. So here it tells us in this following graph, the outcomes of the election in each simulation, where they ran 40,000 simulations. And it shows us what are the biggest electoral possibilities for each candidate. So this graph, the higher it is, it's the more likely something happens. And so this is the chances of them winning in those scenarios where they actually do win. And we can tell a couple of different things. Joe Biden, his best case scenario is way better than Trump's best case scenario realistically, where there is a large spike. At this point, Donald Trump's best case scenario, when there is a pretty large spike, is only about 330 electoral votes. Biden has one nearing 412 electoral votes, which are very good numbers for the former vice president. And however you put it, if Trump wins, they expect him to win narrowly. And for Biden, this is good because then that shows that his campaign has an ahead, at least in the data we have. However, again, I made a video yesterday about the silent majority, which is something that truly could happen, but it's not completely guaranteed. And honestly, if Trump ends up winning by some of the margins down here, it's probably going to be mostly because of the quote-unquote silent majority. We just don't know how big of the impact it is. For Biden, I mean, these are strong numbers. He's just going to have to get those minorities out to vote. Biden is underperforming Hillary Clinton with Hispanics, Black Americans as well. However, that shouldn't be a big of a deal if he doesn't lose them by huge numbers. He's gaining in the Midwest with white working class. He's gaining with older voters. So if he's able to maybe make up the people that he's lost, he should be fine. But overall, these simulations show us Biden has a very big chance and is the clear favorite to win this election. So this snake, so they call this the Electoral Snake. And instead of having a map, 538 has a tool where we could see what each state is looking like for the election. And the darker they are, the higher chance of going to that person it is. So here we can clearly see what states are going to be the most important in the election. So here we can tell the state that will put Biden over the edge is the state of Pennsylvania. They're currently expecting Biden to carry it by almost 5%. Now, going forward and seeing the states that are going to be closer, North Carolina, they expect to be the closest state on the Democrat side, plus 0.6%, and the state of Florida, plus 1.6%, in favor of Biden again. In Nebraska's second congressional district, again, almost a 2% margin of victory for the president. Arizona, almost a 3% margin of victory. And we are seeing very strong numbers for Vice President Biden. And looking at this map, the Republicans are holding on to their bare bones of states that realistically are Republican states. And the Republicans are very far behind in the sense that they're defending so much than they were in 2016. And here's the thing in politics. It's always easier to play offensive than it is to play defensive. We've seen that in the past. And for the Republican Party, where the president is someone that's divisive, for many people, he's a very big role model who does a lot of great things for our country. For others, they just want him out of office immediately. And those are 2 points of views. And that division is what is causing some of these things in the nation. And that is why this election is going to be very hard for Donald Trump to play defensive. And honestly, if you just look at the map, states like North Carolina, Florida, that are trending a lot more Republican, these states, I would say, currently do fall in the Republican column lately because they don't take into account other things. Like some other polls, they don't weigh them as properly as they do some others. So that's also very interesting to see. At this point in time, this election is really changing very quickly. And the states that you have on your screen are going to be deciding factors. So I think at this point in time, this forecast has definitely changed a lot. We saw since the forecast started on June 1st to where we are today, it stayed pretty constant because we already had the big Donald Trump downfall that we saw during the Black Lives Matter movement in May. So that's actually very interesting at this point because Joe Biden's lead has been consistent, which is something we haven't seen in modern political history, 2000 to forward. We saw at least at one point in the election, the person who lost, they were leading. And that's something that Joe Biden's currently not happening. That does not necessarily mean that it's over for Trump. However, it is a big historical sign that we're seeing that Joe Biden has just a very big advantage, at least when it comes to how consistent his lead has been. And the chances have pretty much stayed the same, almost nearing the 70-30, 75-25 range. Now, looking at the electoral vote count, currently they expect the election to be close, and they expect it to be really in play. So they expect that these two lines here would fall under the purple mark, which means that the states will have the election will definitely be contested in like a lesser type of projected outcome. So we're seeing like in an average scenario, 329 electoral votes for Biden, 209 for President Trump. So this is actually very, very, very interesting, as here we can see how this election has changed a lot. And there was a point in time, late June, where the president was doing pretty bad and he was underperforming in many different states. It got to a point where the election was 342 to 196. He's improved, but just a little bit. Now he's only at 210 electoral votes, which again, good numbers, but currently not enough. The president is going to have to overperform in a best case scenario to win the election. Now let's take a look at the popular vote. This is something that really hasn't been in play for Donald Trump to win. It could get narrow, but I think at this point, since Biden is expected to carry a lot of these different Democratic areas by larger margins, we could expect if Donald Trump does actually end up winning the election, he might lose the popular vote by a larger margin at that. And even if Biden wins narrowly, he's probably going to win the popular vote. And even if Donald Trump wins by a landslide, electorally, talking about the Electoral College, that does not necessarily mean that he will win the popular vote, because if you think about it, it is plausible for President Trump to win in the Rust Belt very narrowly, and win in states like Virginia or Nevada, Colorado, in a super best case scenario narrowly, and Joe Biden still have the majority of votes. So here are the weird possibilities, or this is what they do for what are some of the scenarios that could happen. So what are the chances that Donald Trump wins the electoral vote? 13 and 100. Biden, he has an 87% chance. Chances that Donald Trump wins more than 50% of the popular vote, 10% compared to Biden's 81. Trump wins in a landslide is currently less than 1% chance of happening, while Biden winning in a landslide is 29% chance of happening. Trump winning popular vote but lose the Electoral College is something that's very, very unlikely right now. Less than 1% chance of happening, while Biden has an 11% chance of losing the general election in the Electoral College, but winning the popular vote. When it comes to having a 269 scenario, less than 1% chance of happening, but there is some plausible scenarios that the electoral map could actually happen that could lead us there. Trump wins the states that Clinton won in 2016. There is a 38% chance of that happening. It's not that high. However, Biden has a 91% chance of flipping at least one state Trump won in 2016. The map stays exactly the same as it was in 2016. That's probably not going to happen. That's less than 1% chance. And the election hinges a recount. There's a 5% chance of that. Although I would say those chances are actually some quite higher, because of the whole mail-in ballot things, which is honestly going to be disputed amongst the political parties. And at this point in time, the last thing we're going to look at this map is what states are going to be the most crucial in this election. These 9 states are going to be deciding factors in this election. The states of North Carolina, Ohio, Florida, Georgia, Arizona, Iowa, Texas, Pennsylvania, Nevada. These states are going to be crucial for whoever wins the election. If Biden wins, I mean, at this point, 2 or more of these, maybe 2 or 3 of these, it's over for Trump. Donald Trump has to sweep a lot of these states if he wants the absolute chance of winning. He has to win all the states on your screen except maybe Nevada. And maybe that is not enough to cut it. So those are very hard numbers for Donald Trump to overcome. And this forecast tells us something very loud and clearly. Joe Biden is the favorite. However, that does not guarantee anything, as these, again, are just numbers. This is what they anticipate, but that doesn't mean these are going to be the exact results. However, Joe Biden is heavily favored to win the 2020 presidential election. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. Hope you enjoyed the video, and goodbye.